What's going on, friends? Sean Pierce Johnson here, and welcome to this week's little lesson. Now, last time we saw each other, I detailed for you what I've dealt with in terms of physical injuries related to my shoulder and even my fretting hand. And in that very same video, I shared with you that I had begun incorporating a warm-up routine into my playing so that I can avoid injuries like this. And today I'm going to show you exactly what that routine is from start to finish so that you can start incorporating it so you don't get the same kind of nagging injuries that I have. This warm-up routine is just as much about the physical aspect of playing as it is the mental aspect of playing. You're gonna need a few materials outside of your guitar and a pick in order to do this warm-up routine, specifically a metronome. Yes, I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there that don't see the need to own a metronome, practice to a metronome, or do anything to a metronome because they feel like it makes them too robotic. But having gone through the training of rigorous musical education, almost everything that I ever did was to a metronome, and it is the absolute greatest tool that you can do to help your rhythm. I'm often doing this warm-up routine unplugged, so I'm not hearing the pitch through an amplifier or any sort of guitar processing. It's just the electric guitar acoustically in whatever room that I'm in. However, if you are plugged into an amplifier, use the clean tone only. Distortion has the ability to mask inefficiencies within our playing. Perhaps that's one of the reasons why us guitar players love it so much, is that it makes us sound better than we actually are. So with all that preface out of the way, now we can get started with the warm-up routine. The first thing I do is just kind of loosely hang my arms and swing them back and forth. This is really kind of a silly thing, but it just kind of helps starting get the juices flowing within my body. Then, just holding my fretting hand and my picking hand out in front of me, I'll just kind of gently start reaching forward, not trying to go too crazy here. And then I'll spread fingers wide on all fingers, from the thumb to the pinky on the fretting and the picking hand, to try to make them as wide as possible. And I'll slowly start splaying them out and then bring them back in and relax them. Then I'll go ahead and I'll do the same thing a few times. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a couple back shoulder rolls, just kind of hunching a little bit, but it's more about getting the ball and socket moving a little bit. Now we're gonna do just a basic wrist stretch, which is especially handy for the fretting hand. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach my arm out, I'm gonna grab it with the opposite arm, and I'm gonna gently pull back. Gently. Don't try to overdo this. Don't try to make it like you're trying to rip your hand off. Just a gentle enough pressure to start getting this a little bit more loosened up. Hold it for a few seconds, then gently let it drop down, and then go the opposite direction. Once again, hold that for a few seconds. Don't go too crazy with the pressure, and then gently let go. All right, and then repeat that. And with the fretting hand out of the way, now we can do the picking hand. You don't need to watch me do this one. Now, it goes without saying, before you start this, you should tune up your guitar, because if you don't tune your guitar, it's gonna sound bad. Now we're gonna fire up our metronome here. Now when I do this, I intentionally choose a slower tempo, because it is more difficult to do things well slowly than it is to do them fast. You don't believe me? Try it. See if you can play a quarter note at 70 for an extended period of time, which is exactly the tempo that I usually choose. So now the first thing is going to be a chromatic scale exercise, where I'm going to be going up the chromatic scale according to this metronome in the following rhythms: quarter notes, eighth notes, eighth note triplets, and 16th notes. So watch along what I do, and I'll let you know when I'm gonna start shifting those rhythmic values. note triplets. What's great about this physically is that it's working on the left hand and right hand coordination for all those rhythmic values. And you should really do alternate picking throughout that one. But mentally, I'm having to think about the rhythmic value ahead of that switch. So in a way, at some point, I'm counting in quarter notes, but then starting to think in eighth notes halfway through the last measure. Same thing with the eighth notes to the triplets and the triplets to the 16th notes. Now staying with the 70 BPM, now I'm gonna start running a couple scales. Now I'm doing this two different ways: alternate picking and economy picking. Now I'm using a 3-note per string major scale. I can just choose any key. I'm gonna use G major for this one. And what I'm really concentrating on here is making sure that every note is picked out clean in the alternate picking. And then when it comes to the economy picking, making sure that transition going down and up the strings feels like I'm sweeping. So let's try it out. This one is a little bit more of a mental exercise because you're having to remember that you are not alternate picking in this stance. You are trying to minimize your motion. This one can be a little bit easier if you do a faster rhythmic value. Let's try it with some 16th notes. Next, let's shift over to doing something in a minor key. We're gonna use A minor for this one here. Now, what we're gonna do with this is it's in every other note. You're sort of jumping thirds with this one. Now, it's important with this to make sure two things. You're getting the picking right and you're getting the fingerings down right. We're gonna go ahead and do this one in eighth notes, sticking with that 70 BPM metronome. Now you may have noticed I left a little mistake in there because I want to use it to illustrate one of the reasons why I keep doing this. If I did that any longer, we'd be sitting here for a very long time and I don't want to waste your time. But when you make a mistake, keep going. Now we're gonna go ahead and stick with A minor scale for this next bit, and that is starting to get up and down the neck, moving between different positions in order to start getting that fluidity between one position and the next. We're gonna start with pattern 4, that is, if you're familiar with the cage system, pattern 4, A minor scale, and then we're gonna start moving up the scale and up the neck and recognizing those pitches and where they are. Yes, I did intentionally leave those final mistakes in there to illustrate a point. I am still a little bit slow, even after all these years. But that's what these things are for! Finally, we come to the end of the warm-up, and this is less about staying in rhythm and more about starting to get some stretching things going on playing. Now, with the guitar in position, I'm gonna start bending a few notes. I can go ahead and keep this in D minor pentatonic. And now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start practicing some bends. We talked about practicing bends a few times ago. Top right corner card if you wanna watch that little lesson. But all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start trying out some nice melodic bending things. Add in a little vibrato if you so choose. And the point of this is really just to start getting that motion under your fingers. It's kind of like light bicep curls, you know, just little light bending. We'll get you ready for those real. And then just adding the little accent of vibrato, just starting to wake your ears up to musicality. And that's it. Really, that's all you need to do in order to practice the bends. But now we get to some rhythm. With this one, I'm starting to get myself ready for some good strumming in whatever music that I'm playing. And I choose the clean tone for this middle position, something kind of spanky because I'm doing a lot of muting and I'm also doing a lot of triad work here. So this is almost as much my head thinking about the rhythm, getting my body into it and actually, you know, the rhythm of the music, but also my fingers ready to not only fret, but mute at the same time. For this though, I'll tap in a tempo and get something kind of groovy. How about like that? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 111. Now all I'm gonna do here is I'm only gonna pick a few chords. Not worry about key, but just worry about the rhythm. And then just start picking a pattern. Maybe like 1, da da da, da 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 da. So a little hold and a little 16th note thing. Yeah, a little 16th note thing. So da 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 da, da 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 da. Maybe do a little accent like that, and then just start playing it out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. with that, my warm-up routine is done, and now I'm ready to go ahead and do whatever it is. There are a few more intensive things that I will do depending on the genre, such as if I'm working on music that is in the heavier realm of things, I will do a few palm muting exercises. And I suppose I could show you guys that in a future little lesson, and if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments section down below. So let's recap what this warm-up routine is all about. It is a physical and mental exercise to get you into the mood and the readiness to make music. Remember to start out with those light stretches. Just like athletes stretch before any sort of competition, you should be incorporating stretches before any sort of musical activity. Waking up the muscles a little bit will prevent long-term injury. And once you're ready to start playing the guitar, as part of that warm-up, plug into a good clean amplifier so that you can notice the mistakes when you make them and utilize a metronome at a slow speed. It's gonna be a challenge for you at first, but trust me, in the long run, you'll thank me for that one. Having said that though, there are definitely points where I feel like this routine is a bit stale for me. So if you guys have warm-up routines that you do yourselves, let me know what you do in the comments section down below, because I'd love a few more ideas to incorporate into mine so that my warm-up routine doesn't get as stale as it sometimes can. I want to thank you all for spending part of your day with me and watching this week's little lesson video. A new one goes up every single Wednesday, and if you want to make sure that you never miss one, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. But if you'd like to stay more directly in touch, get news about what's going on here on the channel, my musical world, and maybe win some free gear, join my email club at seanpiercejohnson.com/email. And if you really want to support the channel with your hard-earned dollars, I would highly recommend you use the affiliate links to do all your gear shopping in the description box down below. Whether it's a big purchase or an everyday thing like strings and pitch, it all adds up and really means a lot. Until we see each other again, my friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson wishing you all watching great tone and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. God bless.